The broken slave, the market was loud and cruel. Voices of traders echoed through the dusty air. Cages lined both sides of the street. Each cage held beings from different worlds, some strong, some weak, some still fighting against their fate. But one cage was different. Inside sat a girl who looked more broken than alive. Her skin carried scars. Her teeth were broken, her eyes dim with pain. She was thin, too thin, as if hunger had eaten her spirit long ago. Traders shouted prices for other slaves. Strong arms, sharp claws, rare talents. But when they reached her cage, they laughed. "This one is worthless," a fat alien trader shouted. "Look at her, beaten, ugly, no use for work or pleasure," others laughed with him. Some spat near her cage. Buyers walked away without even stopping. No one wanted her. She sat silent, hugging her knees. She had learned long ago that begging was useless every time she cried for mercy. The whip only came harder. Her voice had grown quiet, her spirit almost gone. Still, there was a tiny spark in her heart, a small wish, a dream she did not dare to hold. Maybe one day someone would see her as more than trash. But that dream faded each time buyers walked away. The auctioneer tried again, lowering her price. 2 credits, just 2. Cheaper than a loaf of bread, still. The crowd only laughed. Who would waste money on that? One sneered. "Better throw her to the dogs," another said. Her head lowered, tears hidden under her tangled hair. She thought this was the end. She would rot in this cage until death came quietly. Then silence. The crowd's laughter stopped when footsteps echoed on the stone floor. Heavy boots, steady and calm. It was not the step of a trader, not the greedy walk of a buyer. It was different. Everyone turned to see who it was, a human. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. Most kept away from the slave markets. Their kind carried strange stories, dangerous stories. Some said humans had strange hearts. Others said they were mad. The man walked slowly, his eyes scanning the cages, not rushing, not mocking. He looked at the strong slaves, the tall warriors, the shining-skinned beauties. But his steps did not stop there. Instead, his gaze fell upon the broken girl in the corner. Her body trembled when she saw him looking at her. She had seen many eyes before, hungry, cruel, empty. But his eyes were different. There was no greed, no disgust, only something she could not name. The auctioneer laughed nervously. "Not this one, human, she is trash. Look at the others, strong, loyal, useful. This one is nothing." But the man's eyes did not leave her. He took one step closer to the cage. The crowd began to whisper, "Why is he looking at her? Has he lost his mind?" He should know better. Humans may be strange, but not stupid. The girl hugged her knees tighter. Fear filling her chest, she thought. Maybe he will buy me just to hurt me. Maybe his cruelty will be worse, but then his voice cut through the silence, calm, low, steady. "I'll take her." The market froze. The auctioneer blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. "What did you say?" "I said," the man repeated, his tone firm, "I'll take her." The crowd burst into laughter again, this time louder. A human choosing garbage? He must be desperate. Or maybe humans are blind after all. The auctioneer shook his head. "She is not worth even 1 credit, human. She will only cause trouble." The man pulled a small pouch from his belt and dropped the credits into the auctioneer's hands. 2 credits, as you said, release her," still laughing. The auctioneer unlocked the cage. The door creaked open. The girl shrank back, her body pressed into the corner. She did not believe it. The man crouched slightly, his voice soft. "Come," he said. "You are free from this cage now." Her eyes widened, fear and confusion mixing inside her. She did not move, she did not trust him. But slowly, step by shaky step, she crawled out. The sunlight touched her skin for the first time in years. She blinked, her weak legs trembling. The man offered his hand. She stared at it, unsure. The crowd jeered. Look at her, too scared to even walk. The human wasted his money, but he did not care. He simply waited, his hand steady, patient. At last, she reached out, her thin fingers brushing against his, and for the first time in her life, someone did not pull away in disgust. The human's hand closed gently around hers, not to hurt, not to chain, but to guide. The broken slave had been chosen, not as property, but as something different, something she could not yet understand. The market behind them laughed and mocked, but their voices grew distant as the human led her away. In her heart, that tiny spark of hope, once almost dead, flickered back to life. But she still wondered, why him? Why her? And what fate awaited her in the hands of this strange, lonely human? The answer was hidden in the shadows of the galaxy, waiting for the journey that was about to begin. Hard the unexpected choice. The girl's weak steps echoed as she followed the human through the noisy streets. Every eye in the market watched them. Laughter and whispers filled the air. "Look at that fool human," someone shouted. "He wasted money on trash," another mocked. "He will regret it before the next sunrise," a third laughed. The girl's heart pounded. She wanted to run back into the cage. At least there she knew her pain. But this new freedom felt like another trap. The human walked calmly, not answering the voices. His tall frame steady, his hand still holding hers lightly. Not forcing, not dragging, just guiding. They reached the edge of the market where a small ship waited, its hull scarred, its engines humming low. Clearly not a warship, just a traveler's vessel. The girl stopped at the ramp, fear choking her throat. She whispered, "Why me?" Her voice was broken, weak, but he heard it. He looked at her with calm eyes. "Because you were alone," he said softly. "Because no one else would." She shook her head. "I am worthless, broken, useless," her words trembled. Repeating the insults she had heard for years, the man crouched down to her level, his voice firm but gentle. "Worthless to them, maybe, but not to me." Before she could answer, a group of traders appeared, blocking the path, their faces twisted with anger and greed. "Human," one growled. "Hand her back, that girl is not yours. Slaves belong to the market," another sneered. "Or maybe you can sell her to us, we will give you 1 credit back." "Better than wasting money." The human's eyes hardened, his voice like steel. "She is not for sale." The traders laughed, drawing closer. "You think you can protect her? Look around, human, you are alone here." The girl trembled, clutching the man's sleeve, fear flashing in her eyes. She had seen this before. Whenever someone tried to show her kindness, the world crushed it, but the human did not move back. His hand slipped to the weapon on his belt, not pulling it yet, just resting there, a silent warning. The leader of the traders spat. "Humans are stubborn, but you will learn she is broken. She will only bring you trouble. Better to walk away." The man's voice stayed calm, steady as stone. "Trouble or not, she is mine now." The girl gasped quietly, his words strange to her ears. "Not mine like a master, but mine like family." Before the traders could strike, local guards appeared, their armor shining, their eyes cold. "Enough!" the captain barked. "The purchase was legal." "Let the human go," the traders cursed, stepping back, but their eyes burned with hate. "We will see how long you keep her, human. She will break you," they hissed before fading into the crowd. The human guided the girl up the ramp into his ship. The door closed behind them, shutting out the laughter and threats of the market. Inside, the ship was small but clean, nothing like the filthy cage she had known. A soft seat, a table, even a bed in the corner. She stood frozen, afraid to touch anything, her hands shaking. The man placed a small bowl of warm food in front of her, steam rising. "Eat," he said simply. Her stomach twisted with hunger, but she shook her head, whispering, "If I eat, you will beat me later." Her voice carried the memory of years in chains. The man sat across from her, his tone patient. "I will not hurt you. Eat." Her eyes searched his face for lies, but she saw none. Slowly, carefully, she lifted the bowl, tasted the food, and tears spilled down her cheeks. It was the first real meal in years. He did not laugh at her. He did not push, he just let her eat when she finished. He placed a small object on the table, a simple necklace with a dull silver charm. "This is yours," he said. "A mark that you are not property, but family." She stared at it, unable to believe, her lips trembling. "Family?" She whispered, as if the word was forbidden. He nodded, his eyes calm. "Yes, family." Her hands shook as she touched the necklace. Holding it close to her chest, the word echoed in her heart. Family, something she had never known. For the first time in her life, she cried not from pain but from hope. But deep in the shadows of the galaxy, rumors already began to spread. A human had bought the broken slave, and not for profit, not for cruelty, but for something far more dangerous, love. And in a galaxy where power and cruelty ruled, love could become the strongest weapon of all. The bond of trust. The ship drifted through the dark sea of stars, its engines humming softly. Inside, silence filled the small cabin. The alien girl sat on the edge of the seat, her thin hands clutching the necklace the human had given her. She still could not understand. Why would anyone choose her? Why would a stranger offer her food, clothes, even a word like family? She had never heard that word for herself before. The human moved around the cabin, checking controls, adjusting buttons, calm and steady. He did not chain her, he did not lock her in a room. He simply let her sit, free. But her heart was not free yet. Fear still gripped her. Whispers from the market still echoed in her ears. Worthless, broken, useless that night. She tried to sleep on the floor instead of the bed. Curling up as she had in cages, the human noticed, his brow furrowed. "The bed is for you," he said. She shook her head quickly. "No, if I sleep there, you will punish me later." Her voice cracked. He sighed softly, kneeling beside her. "Listen to me," he said firmly but gently. "No punishments, no chains. You are safe here." Tears filled her eyes. She wanted to believe, but chains lived deep inside her soul. Days passed. He taught her small things. Simple human words, how to use the small kitchen, how to open the door to the stars safely, how to sit in the pilot's chair, her hands trembling each time sometimes. She asked questions in a whisper. "Why did you choose me?" His answer never changed. "Because you deserved more." Her heart stirred each time he said it. A strange warmth growing where once only cold lived, but outside their little ship, the galaxy did not stay quiet. Whispers spread like fire. "A human has taken a slave. Not for profit, but for family," alien traders mocked. Pirate lords grew curious and the council took notice. Messages spread in the underworld. Many laughed, but some grew angry. "If the broken one finds strength, it will shame us all." One evening, as stars glowed beyond the window, the ship's alarm blared, a red light flashing. The human rushed to the controls. Eyes narrowing, pirates, 3 ships surrounded them, their voices cracking through the calm. "Human, give us the girl, and we will let you live." The girl froze, fear stabbing through her chest. She whispered, "They want me because I am weak. They will take me again." The human's jaw tightened, his hand steady on the weapon at his side. "No one will take you," he said. The pirates boarded, weapons flashing. The human fought bravely, his strikes precise, but there were too many. They pinned him to the ground. Blades raised. The girl watched in horror, her body trembling, memories of whips and chains burning in her mind. But deep inside, something else stirred, something hidden, something long buried. Her species had once been strong, but years of slavery had crushed their gifts. Still under fear, under love, a spark returned. Her eyes glowed faintly. Her hands shook, and suddenly, one pirate flew back as if pushed by invisible force, crashing into the wall. The others turned in shock. "What was that?" The girl gasped, her body weak but her spirit burning. She stepped forward, raising her trembling hands. Another surge of power lashed out. Throwing weapons aside, the human pushed himself up, his eyes wide, not with fear but with pride. Together they stood side by side. The broken girl and the lonely human. Fighting as one, the pirates fled in panic, shouting, "She has power, the broken one has power." When silence returned, the girl collapsed, shaking, afraid of what she had done. I didn't mean to," she whispered. The human knelt beside her, lifting her gently, his voice calm. "You saved us." Her eyes filled with tears. "But I thought I was useless," he shook his head, placing his hand over hers. "You are not useless. You are stronger than you know." For the first time in her life, she believed, just a little, that maybe she was more than broken. Maybe she could be something more. But outside, the galaxy roared with new rumors. The broken slave was no longer just a slave. She was dangerous. She was powerful, and everyone would want her, and so, the bond of trust between a human and a broken girl became not just survival, but the spark of something that could change the galaxy itself. The hidden strength. The ship floated in silence after the pirates fled. Broken pieces of metal drifting outside the window. The girl sat on the floor, still shaking, her hands clutching the necklace. Her heart raced. She had felt something inside her break free, a force she did not understand, a strength she thought was lost forever. The human watched her carefully, not with fear, but with steady calm. "You saved us," he said again, but she shook her head. "No, it was a mistake if they find out. They will hunt me," he nodded slowly. "Then let them come. We will face them." His words were simple, but they sank deep into her chest, like a shield stronger than any weapon. Days passed. The girl tried to hide her new gift, afraid of it, afraid it would bring more pain. But the human encouraged her gently. "Strength is not a curse," he told her. "It is part of you at night." When stars glowed outside the window, she trained in secret, her trembling hands pushing small objects across the table, lifting them into the air, sometimes failing, sometimes fainting, but always trying. The human watched without judgment, helping her when she fell, giving her water, guiding her with patience. Yet beyond the quiet of their ship, the galaxy stirred. News spread fast, and the worthless slave had power. Whispers carried across stations and markets. The council took notice. The Empire's hunters grew restless. Rumors twisted into fear. If the broken ones can rise again, what else lies hidden? Soon, a message reached the humans' ship, a cold voice through the comm. Humans, surrender the girl, or be destroyed. The girl's breath caught, she whispered. They know. They are coming for me. The human placed a hand on her shoulder, firm and steady. They are coming for us, and we will not bow. Their ship shook violently as enemy vessels fired warning shots, beams of light slicing through the darkness. The human pushed controls, weaving through asteroids, but more ships appeared, surrounding them. The girl trembled, fear pulling at her chest, but she remembered the pirates. She remembered the human's words, strength is not a curse. She closed her eyes, reaching deep inside. The necklace pressed against her skin, warmth spreading through her. Outside, the asteroids began to shift. As if answering her will, giant rocks moved, crashing into the enemy ships. Explosions lit the void. The human glanced at her, surprise flickering in his eyes, but also pride. You are stronger than you know, he said. One enemy ship broke through, boarding hooks latching onto their hull. Armed soldiers stormed inside, their armor gleaming, their weapons raised. The human fought first, swift and sharp, but the numbers grew overwhelming. The girl stepped forward, her eyes glowing faintly. She raised her hands, and a wave of invisible force knocked the soldiers back, slamming them into the walls, weapons scattering. The cabin filled with silence once more, broken armor pieces sparking on the ground. The girl's chest heaved, her body weak but her spirit burning. She looked at the human, fear and hope mixing in her eyes. Did I do wrong? She whispered. He shook his head slowly. No, you did what you had to do. You saved us again. Tears streamed down her face. But they will never stop. They will chase us forever. The human's gaze hardened, his voice firm. Then let them chase. We will show them that even the weakest can rise. We will show them that family cannot be broken. The girl clutched the necklace tighter, her fear still alive but no longer stronger than her will. She was beginning to see herself not as a slave, not as broken but as something else, something powerful. And the galaxy, watching from the shadows, realized a dangerous truth. The beaten slave was no longer weak, and the lonely human was no longer alone. Together, they were becoming a force the galaxy could not ignore. The priceless family. The stars burned bright outside the small ship, but inside the air was heavy with silence. The girl sat quietly, holding the necklace close to her heart. She knew the galaxy would not stop. Whispers of her power had already spread. The human adjusted the ship's course, his eyes firm. We cannot hide forever, he said. They will come again stronger. She lowered her head, guilt heavy in her chest. This is my fault. If you had left me in the cage, you would be safe. He turned to her, his voice sharp but steady. Listen, you are not a burden. You are family. I chose you, and I will never regret it. Her eyes filled with tears, her broken spirit trembling between fear and hope. Suddenly, alarm screamed, lights flashed red. A massive warship appeared, its shadow swallowing their vessel. The insignia of the Galactic Council glowing on its hull. A message cracked through the comm, cold and merciless. Human, surrender the slave. She belongs to us. Her kind is property. You cannot keep her. The girl trembled, her hands shaking. They will take me. They always take me, she whispered. But the human stood tall, his voice a roar of defiance. She is not property. She is mine, not as a slave, but as family. The council ship deployed fighters, surrounding them like a swarm of predators. Weapons charged, ready to fire. The girl clutched the necklace, her heart racing, fear screaming in her veins. But then she remembered his words, family cannot be broken. Something inside her shattered, not from weakness, but from chains that had bound her spirit for years. Her eyes glowed brighter than ever. Her hands rose, and the very stars seemed to answer her. Energy surged from her body, waves of invisible force spreading across the void. Fighters spun out of control, council weapons overloaded. Explosions lit the darkness. The human shielded his eyes from the light. Awe filling his chest, she was no longer the broken slave. She was something far greater. The council commander's voice screamed through the comm. She is too dangerous, destroy them both. But before the final strike could fall, the girl stepped forward, her voice steady for the first time. No, I will not be a slave, not to you, not to anyone. I choose my own path. Her power surged again, wrapping around the warship, twisting its weapons back on itself. In moments, the massive vessel broke apart, fire consuming it. Silence followed. Only the hum of their small ship remained. Drifting through the glowing wreckage, the girl collapsed to her knees. her strength nearly gone, fear flashing in her eyes. I did not mean to kill them. The human knelt beside her, lifting her gently. You did what you had to. You chose freedom, and that is never wrong. Her tears spilled, but they were not tears of pain this time. They were tears of release for the first time in her life. She had chosen, and she had chosen family. He placed his hand on her shoulder, his voice firm but soft. The galaxy will come for us again, but we will face it together. No matter what, she clutched the necklace tighter, nodding. Together, she whispered. As their ship vanished into the endless sea of stars, the galaxy whispered in fear and awe. The beaten slave was no longer broken, and the lonely human was no longer alone. They were family, and together they were priceless.